a man chopping off people's noses to put in the museum of noses that he had at home. He had a noseeum.
Welcome back to the Modern Horror Stories podcast with Jamie, Dave, Alex, and Rosanna, a full set of creatives who come together to talk about films. And we haven't, which gives me an excuse actually to talk about why we've not been here for a while. And that is because we've all been away doing creative things. But hopefully we can be here a little bit more often. And we've come together this time specifically to talk about FrightFest, which has just finished in Leicester Square. 5 days of amazing horror films, and the four of us went to a selection of them. We didn't all see the same films, and we were also joined by three of our friends, Emily, Martin, and Sean, whose names might pop up as well because they saw quite a few films with us as well and gave us a few opinions to share. Rosanna, this is your first Fright Fest. How was it for you?
Yes, it was. It was really cool. Like, I didn't realize just how many films there were to choose from. It's like 5 days, and it was like how many screens going at the same time, like 3 or something like that.
It's at
And
least four. Yeah,
even
4 or
more.
5.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I just looking through the brochure. There's so much to like choose from, which was amazing, and also the fact that you got the opportunity to like see the like different crew members, so like director, producer, and stuff like talk after. For example, Kombucha that I saw, like they were, I think it was the producer and the writer who was like having a talk afterwards, and you got to ask them questions and everything. And it was just really nice. I definitely want to do it again next year.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, we're going to be talking about 6 films that we saw. Either 1, 2, 3 of us went to see them. And we'll start with The Confession. There are not going to be any spoilers in today's podcast. As The Confession, an international premiere directed by Will Canon. And in the synopsis here, it says, when a struggling musician moves back to her childhood home, she discovers a recording of a deceased father confessing to a grisly murder he claims to have committed. And it goes on to say a little more, which I'm not going to say because I think it's almost a spoiler. But it's a really nice setup and a really professionally made film. It was very plot heavy. If I was going to give a downside to this film, it was very plot heavy and dense, perhaps a little bit too much. But it was a really beautifully made film, really well shot. And it wasn't my favorite of the festival, but Emily and Martin, who came with us, this was their favorite. They absolutely loved this film. Like I say, it lost me a bit, but because only I saw that one, let's not dwell too long. Let's move on to Salt on the Tongue.
Yes, Salt Along the Tongue was a film we saw on the Sunday of the 5 days I think the festival runs. It's written and directed by Parish Malfitano, and we got to see and hear a bit from him at the end of the film, which is great. It's a real treat of Fright Fest to get to hear from the creators of these films. And I thought the film was really wonderfully shot and really well acted. Like every scene was interesting to watch and well made, I thought. I did struggle to follow the through line a little, unfortunately. So the story, I should tell you. So there's a girl and her mum, and her mum dies, and she ends up going to live with her mum's twin sister. And the girl is picked on at school, and she's not very comfortable and confident in herself. And then suddenly she has this transformation where she becomes like socially completely confident and out there. And the aunt feels very off about this, and the film follows this. I should actually say, the opening scene of the film is a really fascinating scene where you see somebody returning home and they see the word witch painted on their door, and they proceed to go and cook. And whilst they're cooking, every action that they take towards a tomato happens to a person who's just walking on the street. So they they start to peel the tomato, and somebody's skin starts to peel, and they start to boil the tomato, and it's carnage for the person. But yeah, that was a theme. It returned a bit later, but it would be nice if it was more present throughout, that sort of witchcraft. And something I really liked was the use of language in the film. There was at least 3 languages, and the characters seemed to just very fluidly move between these 3 languages. I feel like it's fairly rare to see in English-speaking movies to have the other languages come in so fluidly as this. Alex, what did you think?
Yeah, I just want to sort of echo your thoughts on, in particular, the writer-director mentioned this connection between food and witches that he wanted to explore. And I love the way that was done, particularly at the start and the end. Yeah, as you mentioned, the scene with the tomato, but also there's a scene at the end. I don't want to give too much away, but it involves some ingredients that have been bought earlier in the film. And yeah, I would have loved to have seen a bit more than that. I completely agree with you there. But yeah, it did some really, really interesting stuff in terms of the sort of cultural element of it. How food sort of plays into lots of different cultures, and also how sort of witchcraft has different interpretations from wherever you are around the world. There are all sorts of different ways of sort of looking at witchcraft, and in the same way, there are different ways of looking at cookery. And I think this film sort of appreciated that. And yeah, I think you put it very well.
Yeah, I would echo what Alex and Jamie said. I love the link between food and their languages and witchcraft, and how they all intersect. I think the one thing I would say about this film is maybe it's 10 minutes too long, because I enjoyed it, and I thought it had a great beginning and a great end. But yeah, if I was going to be hypercritical, whilst I enjoyed it, I think maybe it could have been a little shorter in the middle, but good film. Next, Jamie and I saw Death Cycle, which is a kind of giallo film, or homage to giallo films, which is about it starts with it's got a really amazing opening where it starts with a car crash where a car injures 2 female pedestrians, and the driver is worried. He thinks he's killed both of these people, and he's going to drive away. And then he realizes one of them's alive, and because he's from a kind of crime family, he decides to kill the living one. To cut a long story short, it turns out the other one also survived, which precedes a series of grisly murders where someone or something takes their retribution on the whole family. And it's set around a motorcyclist, a masked motorcyclist. Even when he's not on his motorcycle, you never get to see who it was doing all these killings. It's a really action-packed film, and I really enjoyed it. It was some horror films seem to have quite a lot of depth. Others you can just enjoy as a roller coaster ride, and this one I just really enjoyed as a roller coaster ride. I was swept along by the whole thing. How did you find it, Jamie?
Yeah, I really loved it. It opened with this sort of high intensity music, and the camera just facing the masked rider as they were riding down the streets. And we had a few moments of just like hardcore motorcycling, and the creators of the film, I think several of them are motorcycle riders, and you could feel the sort of passion and energy for riding coming through. And yeah, that was a really nice element to it, I think. And I loved that we don't see who the murderer is, at least at first. I don't want to give too much away, but but yeah, I love that it's just this masked menace going around and slaughtering people. And something that's also nice about it is that you start to get the sense that, oh, maybe these people deserve to, they're getting what they deserved, sort of thing. So that was another nice element to it. And yeah, I just thought it was fun. Like you said, it's sort of a roller coaster ride of a movie. So I enjoyed the roller coaster, and there was some really creative ways to kill people. I would have liked it would have been quite nice if all of the ways were motorcycle related. I don't want to say what all the kills were, but yeah, there was good fun action. There was a little sort of flavor of Wes Craven to some of the fight scenes, like you might see in Scream or in Red Eye or something. These sort of the baddie doesn't necessarily get to do their thing easily, which is quite nice.
Yeah, true. Let's move on to Kombucha, which 3 of us saw.
Yeah, I loved Kombucha, actually. I had the best time watching that. It's about this musician who meets his old friend. They used to do something creative as well, and this friend is in a really well paid like corporate job now, and he offers to refer the main character, and he eventually accepts just because he has to pay his bills. You all know how it is. and then he discovers that at this work, everyone's drinking this red kombucha. It's sort of like part of the brand. But it turns out that kombucha might have some side effects, let's say, even though everyone claims it makes them very motivated and everything like that. But it's a really funny movie. Like at the end of the movie, there was an interview with like I said before, I think it was the writer and the producer, and that's when we found out that a lot of these people are actually improvisers and then the actors, and I think that made so much sense because they were just so funny. They really like all of them had something so funny to them. So this might not have been like the most scary movie ever, but it was so funny and good. Like I literally enjoyed it from beginning to end. And there's also a lot of nice cinematography. Like there was a lot of you know what I'm gonna say, the symmetry, which I really enjoyed, and it worked perfectly with this movie because it was that like sterile, like corporate sort of vibe, and putting a lot of symmetry into that, it was just made it so like uncomfortably like sterile and clean, like the environment. You could say it's really, I really liked it. And I was laughing loudly, and I heard you were too, Jamie, all the way through, basically. Um, a lot of nice work with color as well. I'm not going to go into the specific details of some of the things I liked because it would be a bit of a spoiler, but I did really like the use of color as well. Very clear color theme, and also very much funny symbolism as well. But that would also be a spoiler to tell you why, but you're gonna have to find out. What do you think, Jamie? I heard you laughing.
Yes. Yeah. I laughed so much. I found it so funny. Like you said, it is really funny. And it was interesting hearing the writer talk afterwards and say that they weren't necessarily thinking of it as a comedy, and then they put it in front of an audience and they were like, oh, okay. But I think the writing is really funny, and the acting is really funny, and at the same time it keeps the sort of intensity alive of the story and the plot, and you're really rooting. I was really rooting for these characters and hoping everything would work out. And I thought there was some brilliant parallels of real life. Like it kind of summed up how I feel about kombucha, this film. It also like some great parallels between sort of corporate culture and the creative arts, and capitalism versus creativity. You know, can these things coexist? Dave, what did you think?
Yeah, again, all I can do is echo what you've both said. I thought this was a really great film, really fun. It becomes more fun as it goes along. It starts off, I feel, fairly. It's amusing. It's got good characters with a dark under theme, And as the darkness becomes darker, the humor becomes funnier as well. But yeah, the performances, I love the performances, and it's such a strange concept that I thought they did really well playing with that kind of dynamic. So that brings us on to Noseeums. Alex.
Yeah, Noseeums is a film directed by Raven Carter, and it is about a woman studying social anthropology, a young woman studying social anthropology at university, and she is invited along by some people who aren't really her friends, along to a lake house. And I didn't know going into this film what Noseeums were. I went in completely blind. I think the sort of image I had was a man chopping off people's noses to put in the museum of noses that he had at home. He had a noseum. And luckily, somebody came up at the start of the film and said, noseeums are these little insects that you get in Florida. So that gave me immediately the idea that I was going to watch a creature feature. And I went in, and to some extent it was, but in the same way that the main character is studying for this degree in social anthropology, the film is a creature feature with a degree in social anthropology. That is really what it's interested in. It's about human relationships, race relations, and it does these things, I must admit, not with a huge amount of subtlety, but in a way that is really, really entertaining. The main character, played by Aaliyah Burt, is extremely likable. She was sort of the element that kept me sort of hooked to the film the entire time. And it gave me something to think about. It gave me characters to root for. It gave me a character that I was absolutely not rooting for. And those elements, I think, are something that can make a really entertaining film, and it absolutely works in this case. So, yes, thank you to this film for teaching me what noseeums are. Although I would, having said that, love a film about a guy who is making a museum full of people's noses. But there we are. Yes, yeah, I was really entertained by this. I'd recommend it to people. Yeah, what did you guys think?
Once again, Alex, you've just taken most of the words out of my mouth. And just to echo two things that you said, one a little negative, one really positive, which I agree with. The lead actress, Aaliyah Burt, is superb. And in the Q&A afterwards, I think they found her kind of last minute, and I thought she was a fantastic lead in this. And basically, I feel like she carries the film because she's front and center for the whole film. Everything transpires for her. The only negative I would say, it's not a huge negative, is the you mentioned that the script isn't particularly subtle, and I feel like it does kind of maybe hammer a few things home. And I kind of like my films a little more subtle, as opposed to having everything so front and center. But it's a minor quibble because, like I say, it's first time director, and it's a really well put together film.
Yeah. I will also add to that in terms of the sort of, yes, it wasn't necessarily the most subtle film, but at the same time, I was told right at the beginning that the film was about flies in Florida. So I was not expecting any kind of sort of academic debate about anything, whether it was subtle or not. So at the end of the day, the fact that it had something to say did surprise me, even if the way that it said it could have been a little less heavy-handed. You know, it was really entertaining. It hammered that point home, but is there anything that wrong about a horror film doing that?
Hammer horror.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That brings us to our last film, which unfortunately only I saw. Of the four of us, I saw it with Sean, and this was actually my favorite film in a very good Fright Fest. But this was still my favorite film, and maybe the viewers don't know, but all four of us are improvisers, amongst other things. And the thing I really liked about the movie Portal to Hell So it had a really improvised vibe to it. It felt really, really alive. And it took one kind of bizarre concept and pushed it to its huge limit in a really fantastical and funny way. And that the thing it pushes to the limit is that there's a laundrette, and in it, one of the tumblers has a portal to hell. And it's really a matter of fact thing. The woman who works there knows it's a portal to hell. The guy, the main actor who comes in says, "Is that a portal to hell?" And she says yes. And other customers walk past, say, "Oh wow, it's a portal to hell." So there's that bizarre concept, but it's treated absolutely seriously by everyone. And it was my favorite film. It was bizarre. It was funny. It was low budget. There weren't many special effects, but everything it did really, really well. It made my festival. It made a good festival even better. Go and see Portal to Hell. That's my takeaway.
I can't wait till it comes out. I've got
Yeah.
so many films now to watch. But thank you for the recommendations.
Yeah, and this is the brochure from FrightFest, and as Rosanna said, it's just full of films. If you've never been to FrightFest, go along because there is literally something for everyone. Even if you're not a horror fan.
Yeah, there's so many different films. Like sometimes they'll have classic films, like classic horrors, brand new ones, indie ones that might not get a mainstream release, ones that hopefully they all do. But Fright Fest is a great place to see amazing films that have been made. Like Dave said, like about budget. Like some of these films have been made on extraordinarily small budgets and with favors from friends and things. We heard the director of Salt Along the Tongue talk about, the producer of Salt Along the Tongue talk about raising the funds for it, and it sounded like it was really towing the line of what was physically possible to achieve with the money they had, and they really pulled it off. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see these films that have been really fought for, and I hope they have further life beyond the festival.
And also, whatever any of us thought of these films, I think probably every single film at Fright Fest has something for somebody. There is, even if you walk out of a film at Fright Fest and think, "Oh, that really wasn't for me," the person next to you might be going, "Oh, that was absolutely incredible." And I think that's what's wonderful about the festival and also about the horror genre, is that there is an enormous amount of diversity within it. And that's fantastic, really. It's wonderful that Dave can go and see a film and he can have his opinions, and then Martin and Emily can sit directly next to him, watch the exact same film, and think something completely different. So yes, I'd recommend all of these films to somebody. All of these films have a huge amount of merit, a lot of effort put behind it, a lot of skill, and yeah, go and watch these films.
And part of the enjoyment is actually chatting to you guys and the other people who saw the film afterwards. Even the films I didn't enjoy so much, it was great getting the other people's points of view, in a way that it just doesn't happen when you just take a trip to the cinema to see perhaps Superman. There's always a story behind these films, and as Jamie says, you get to hear some of those stories. Just one extra one that pops to mind. So Death Cycle, which I think is a fantastic title, and they were surprised that that title didn't exist as a movie, and went through its whole production as Red Cycle. And then basically one of the female members of the crew phoned up the director and said, "If you're a woman, then Red Cycle means something else."
Oh, of course, yeah.
And so they changed the title, and I thought, "Oh, well, it's a happy accident because it's a great title."
Oh, that's fantastic. That is such a good little bit of film trivia there.
Yeah.
It's such a treat with Fright Fest, and something else that's really special about it is all the front of house and box office staff are all volunteers, and there's really lovely people. It's really great to meet them and talk about about the festival, about the films, and like their energy is so high for the festival and what they're doing. And I met the front of house manager, and he doesn't actually get to watch any of the films because he's so busy looking after all the team. But yeah, how amazing that they do this. It's so lovely.
They were so welcoming. I was thinking about it. I didn't know this, but I was like, wow, they're so welcoming and so like high energy. It was great.
Yeah.
Oh, on that note, that was our FrightFest special. Hopefully we'll be back very soon with our 28 weeks later review. It's a bit delayed, but we'll get there eventually. So bear with us and hope to see you all soon. Maybe we should make Noseeums, the Nose Museum horror.
I think we should make, or at least, I mean, we've got to come up with a different title, unfortunately.
Oh.
But I reckon there is some kind of pun involving a body part with museum that we could do.
Yeah.
Toeseum. Kneeseum. He steals their kneecaps.
Museum.
Kneeseum.
People wake up and they try to get out of bed, and then they're like, "Oh my god, where are my kneecaps?"
Yeah,
The
so
knee- he's come along in the night.
yeah, feeling them like the tooth fairy.
Yeah, but with kneecaps.
Yeah.
And the sequels could all be different museums.
For next FrightFest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's get it
absolutely.
together in the next year.
Peace.
Yeah.